Okay, so let's play with IAM policies. So if we go into my user groups right now, I can see that my group admin contains, and the UI is a bit bugged, contains one user, Stefan. So if I go on the right-hand side and go to my services and I go to IAM, so I'll go to the IAM service, I will show you one thing. So this user is an admin user. And therefore, if you go to, for example, users, you can see all the users. Okay, great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove Stefan from the admin group. So I'm going to remove this user and the user will lose the group permissions. That's true. So the user has been removed from the group. And how do we make sure that this is applied? Well, if I go on the right-hand side and now refresh this page, as you can see, I need permissions to access this page, and my user Stefan is not authorized to perform IAM list users on this page. So that makes sense, right? Because we removed the user Stefan from the admins group. So what I can do is I can fix this, and to fix it, I can go into my users, go to Stefan, and now I can attach permissions directly to my Stefan user. So two ways of doing so. Number one is to add permissions and use policies that already exist or that you created, or add an inline policy to just add policies directly to the user. So I'm going to add permissions and I'm going to attach existing policies directly, and I will search for IAM, and I'm going to look for IAM read-only access. I review, I add these permissions, and now my user Stefan has IAM read-only access. What does that mean? That means that, for example, if I refresh this page, then as we can see, the user Stefan does exist. But for example, if I go to groups and I try to create a group and call it developers and create this group, I'm going to get an exception because I'm not authorized to do create group. I was only authorized to have read-only access to IAM. So this really shows the power of IAM and so on. So now if I go to my user groups, I can do two things. So number one, I can go into the admin group and I'm going to add back the Stefan user so that we have administrator access. The second thing I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a group named developers, and I'm also going to add Stefan into this group, and I'm going to attach a policy, whatever, the first policy I found, AWS Direct Connect read-only access, and then create this group. It doesn't matter which policy you're attached to, I just want to show you a behavior. Okay, so now we have two groups. We have the admins and the developers, and the user Stefan is in both groups. So what's going to happen is that if I click on the user Stefan and look at the policies it has three policies. One that was attached directly, named IAM read-only access. One that was in two that were attached from groups. The first one is administrator access from the group admin, and this one, AWS Direct Connect read-only access from the group's developers. So as we can see, the policies get inherited in different ways through the IAM permissions. So finally, I want to show you how policies work. So if you go to policies, we have a list of all the policies available within AWS right here. They're managed policy. So this one is administrator access, and we've been using it before. And if we look at the policy JSON form, as we can see, we have a version and we have a statement. That statement contains one statement, and the effect is allow, so to authorize. Action is star, that means any action. Resource is star, that means any resource. So we allow all the actions on all the resources, therefore making this policy an administrator access policy. We can go into policy summary as well, and this is another view of the policy. We have allow on 284 services of 284. Now services get added all the time, so if you don't have the same number, don't worry, the course is up to date. So we can have a look at another policy, for example, the IAM read-only policy that we've dealt with from before. So this time allows one service out of 284, which is IAM. And if we look at the JSON document, we can see all the actions that are authorized by this IAM read-only access. So we get, for example, IAM get star, list star, generate credentials report, and so on resource star. There's also a way for you to create your own policy. So you can go back to policies and create policy. And you have two ways of doing it. Either you want to write plain and simple JSON, or you can use a visual editor. And this is quite handy. For example, we can choose a service, IAM, then we can choose an action, and we can, for example, do a list user. So I can filter for list users, perfect. And I can do get user. So let's say we want to add these two actions. And on the resources, we can specify specific resources or all resources. We could also specify a request condition if we wanted to. So once we've done that, if we go to the JSON document, as we can see, the visual editor SID was added, which is the statement ID. And we have two actions that were added. So IAM list users and get users on resource star. So it's quite a handy way to generate JSON directly from the visual editor. Okay, so just to finish this lecture, let's do a few things. In user groups, I'm going to delete the developers group because I don't need it. And I need to type the name of the group. So I will type developers and click on delete. And also on my user, Stefan, I'm going to remove the policy that was attached directly because we don't need this IAM read-only policy. I will just remove it and we're good to go. So now my user, Stefan, has full administrator access because it is inherited from the admin group. And so obviously, if I go back to my IAM console on the right-hand side, as we can see, everything is working just fine. So I will refresh and here we go. Things are working. So that's it for this lecture. I hope you liked it and I will see you in the next lecture.